There are people who never say it out loud, yet inside they are exhausted to the bone. They no longer believe in recompense, no longer hope for what is called fairness. They have done good and still been treated harshly, lived decently and still suffered many losses, endured in silence, and yet storms kept rolling in. At times they ask themselves, is my life bound in a circle of karma with no way out? Some people silently recite the Buddha's name, practice do good and let go, only to ask for a little peace for their hearts. Yet the months and years go by, and the results are still unclear. But you know karma does not announce itself with a noise, and blessings do not arrive with flags and applause. When you are quietly paying off karma, the universe will not send a notice in advance. No one will text to congratulate you on your transformation. Everything comes as quietly as breath, as light as a breeze, brushing the eyelids, as slow as a flower gently opening in the early sun. If you are attentive, you will feel it. You will sense something within you changing, not noisy, not jubilant, just a tranquility you have never had before. And at that very moment, blessing is knocking. An invisible door opens when you think no one remembers you and nothing more will come. Blessing does not arrive when you crave it, but when you have quietly paid your dues. This peace does not promise to change your fate overnight. But if you feel calmer without knowing why, if resentments in your heart suddenly grow lighter, if you see life differently without anyone having to explain it, you may be passing through a very important phase. You are settling your karma, and quiet blessings are opening the way. Below are 6 quiet signs that you have gone through karma, and blessings are knocking. Not loud, not dazzling, but deeper and more precious than anything the world can offer. Sign 1. Your heart no longer surges at the things that once hurt you. Have you noticed that the same old matter, when you think of it now, no longer triggers the old reactions? You are no longer angry, no longer sad, no longer feel the urge to justify or explain. If someone accidentally brings up the person who hurt you, your heart does not ripple. If someone mentions a situation that once made you suffer, you simply listen in silence, without a strong emotional swing. That is not because you forgot, nor because you have gone numb. It is because you have stepped beyond the heavier stage of karmic mind. When you are trapped in resentment, every memory is like a needle piercing the heart. But as karma gradually dissolves, your mind becomes wider and quieter. No need to force forgiveness, no need for anyone's apology. You simply do not carry it inside anymore. This is a very important sign. Quiet yet clear, it shows you no longer identify yourself with suffering. You have taken the lesson instead of continuing to play the victim. You are no longer living in the old story. You are living in the present. When your inner strength is steady enough, you are not easily shaken by what has passed. When the mind is bright enough, the knots of the past recede on their own. You no longer want to win or lose, argue or demand fairness. You understand that not everyone has the awareness to understand you, and you do not need to be understood to be at peace. Forgiveness now is not an act, but a state. The state of someone who no longer feels hurt is something necessary to hold on to. If you have this sign, a part of your karmic mind has likely been settled. No external confirmation needed. Your inner calm is the answer. Sign 2, you are no longer drawn into relationships that exhaust you. In the past, you tried very hard to maintain a relationship. You explained, persuaded, yielded, even sacrificed yourself just to keep someone from leaving. You feared abandonment, worried that letting go would cost you something important. Until you realized the more you tried, the more drained you became. There are people you no longer reach out to. There are conversations you no longer feel are necessary to regret. There are familiar places you choose not to return to. Not because you are angry or arrogant, but because you see clearly holding on to what no longer fits only makes things more tangled. This is not avoidance. This is waking up. You begin to choose. You can tell which relationships bring peace and which ones drain your energy. And then you stop. You do not blame or condemn anyone. You simply no longer keep connections that make you unlike yourself. You no longer stay with someone just to be accepted. You no longer tug at a door that has already closed. When karma is heavy, you are often bound by relationships full of hurt. Perhaps you are emotionally dependent. Perhaps you keep repeating the same pattern of connection even though you know it is not healthy. But as karma dissolves, you are no longer easily pulled into those patterns. You begin to set boundaries. You do not say what does not need to be said. You do not try to keep those who do not wish to stay. You do not let others' emotions dictate your own. And strangely, when you stop chasing those who hurt you, truly kind people begin to appear. Not flashy, not showy, but enough for you to feel at peace. This is a very clear sign of karmic shift. It is not that your nature has changed. It is that you are no longer drawn by what once wore you out. Your heart is less entangled. Old bonds have receded. The karmic entanglements around relationships fade accordingly. Sign 3: life begins to feel lighter, even though you are no longer straining so much. In the past, you had to brace yourself for everything. Brace in work, brace in relationships, brace to keep up appearances, brace to prove you were fine. For both small and large matters, you calculated, raced, and stayed busy. Yet nothing seemed to come together. One thing after another, as if an invisible force held you back. Despite your best efforts, results were not as hoped. You thought perhaps you were not diligent enough, not skilled enough, not good enough. Then, at some point, things began to change. You were not necessarily doing more, nor did anyone special show up to help. It was just that matters that once snagged now moved more smoothly. You kept doing what you had been doing, but everything unfolded more easily. This is not random luck. It is a sign that karmic residue is being cleansed in tangible life. When karma weighs heavily, your life feels like a car with its brakes stuck. You want to move forward, but keep lurching back. You want stability, but things stay tangled. You want to let go, but keep getting snagged. When karma has gradually been resolved, you feel a kind of ease without a specific reason. It is not that life has changed, but that you are no longer dragging along invisible burdens. You no longer set expectations too high or try to prove anything. You do everything with a calmer mind, and that calm itself helps life move more smoothly. In the past, a small incident was enough to leave you flustered. Now you handle everything with a different attitude, a little slower, a little more composed, without panic, without losing your temper. Even money, which once worried you, is no longer an obsession. You still work hard, but no longer chase goals that are not truly necessary. Not to win or lose, not out of lack, simply to live rightly and sufficiently. Then you discover that fitting opportunities begin to come to you, not too dazzling but very timely. Not loud, but enough to make you feel grateful. This is a clear sign of someone who has stepped out of the cycle of karma, driven by craving for fame, gain, and validation. You no longer try to control everything or chase what does not belong to you. You do what should be done and let the rest follow its conditions. When you stop straining, merit has room to flow in. When you stop forcing things, life has a chance to move according to its natural course. It is not giving up, it is understanding what is truly worthy. Sign 4: you are no longer ruled by erratic emotions. One clear indication that karma is being resolved is that your mind begins to stabilize again. It is not because external circumstances have changed, but because your way of responding has changed. In the past, a single, unpleasant remark would trigger you immediately. When something unwanted happened, you would start interpreting, worrying, snapping, and feeling uneasy. You let emotion lead action, letting a small situation stretch into an entirely negative day. Now you begin to remain calm in situations that used to make you tense. You know to pause before reacting. You observe emotion instead of immediately obeying it. You are no longer swept along by praise or blame, nor easily shaken by outside gossip. It is not indifference, it is discernment about what to receive and what to let go. You no longer allow temporary feelings to dictate a long way of living. Those still entangled in karma tend to be quick to anger, overly sensitive, and easily pushed into extremes. With an unquiet mind, everything becomes serious. A small mishap can irritate them all day. A single ill-fitting remark can set off rumination, torment, and sleeplessness. When the inner world becomes quieter, emotions come under better control. You no longer speak hurtful words in anger or act rashly when things go against your wishes. You know to wait for emotion to settle before deciding, and that helps you avoid many regrettable consequences. Many think this is a change of personality. In fact, it is the result of purifying karmic mind and cultivating awareness. Emotion is the effect of mind. When the mind is unstable, emotions fluctuate. When the mind is steady, emotions naturally become even. If you notice that you are no longer quick to anger, no longer living by moods, no longer letting feelings lead everything, it is a sign worth cherishing. It shows you have traveled a long road of self-examination and adjustment. When you master emotion, you master circumstance. When you are not dragged by emotion, you do not create new karma, and you are no longer bound by the old. Sign 5, you naturally begin to encounter good people, wholesome events, and fitting opportunities. You are not necessarily seeking them out or changing your living environment or job, yet kind people start to appear in your life. You begin to connect with relationships that are pleasant with little calculation and little gossip. You receive help at the right moments and advice at the right time, and you feel that everything is gradually moving in the right direction. In the past, you met many who hurt you, used you, misunderstood you, or abandoned you in hard times. You felt the world was untrustworthy, good people too rare, and opportunities reserved for someone else. Now things slowly change. You no longer need to strain to be recognized or chase one-sided relationships, and what is suitable from work to friends to opportunities comes to you gently. This is not random. It is the fruit of wholesome seeds you quietly sowed in the past. Perhaps you helped someone without expecting anything in return. Perhaps you lived decently, even when others did not understand you. Perhaps you were patient, tolerant, and persevering in uncomfortable circumstances. Blessings do not arrive immediately, but when karma has been resolved enough, blessings begin to operate, and the first sign is that you attract what is wholesome. No promotion needed and no searching required. Live rightly, and merit naturally finds you. You may also notice luck in small things, arriving at just the right time, meeting the right person, avoiding risk at the last minute. Nothing grand yet. You clearly feel life softening, people easier, and matters flowing in a positive direction. If you are seeing that, no, it is not mere luck, but that harmful karma has waned and the wholesome seeds you planted are bearing fruit. Sign 6, you no longer obsess over winning and losing, gain and loss. There was a time when you were easily affected by how others treated you. You felt hurt when you were not recognized, felt it unfair that someone insincere was loved, felt sorry for yourself when you lived decently, yet still faced hardship. You tried to prove something to be loved, not to be inferior to anyone. You kept striving for something you thought would make you happy if you had it. Then a time comes when you no longer want to strive in that way. It is not giving up. It is seeing that it is unnecessary. You are no longer interested in arguing about right and wrong, no longer feel the need to surpass anyone or to prove your worth to those who do not truly understand you. You know who you are and how you live, and you are at ease with that. The once overly sensitive ego steps back. You no longer care what others think or what society is chasing. You choose depth over breadth, focusing on living decently and rightly, rather than living to be seen. This is a clear sign of spiritual maturity. When one has not finished settling karma, the mind is often uneasy and clings to outcomes. There is a desire to control, to outdo, to obtain. When karma settles, you realize peace does not come from winning, but from no longer needing to win. You no longer suffer because others surpass you, or because you do not yet have something. Even in loss, you are not consumed by regret because you understand everything is temporary, coming and going. What matters is whether your mind is steady. You live more lightly with fewer expectations and fewer calculations. When you release the need to win and lose, you truly enter the domain of inner safety. People call that freedom. Not freedom to do everything, but freedom from the invisible bonds that kept you living in weariness for so many years. You have just heard the 6 quiet signs that you have passed through karma, and blessings are knocking. No need for anyone's confirmation, no need for accolades. The change within your heart is the clearest proof. If you find yourself calmer, gentler, and less quick to anger, smile. It is not because life has become easier, but because you have changed. There are changes no one can see, yet you feel them most clearly. You no longer react as before, no longer spin in old loops, no longer tire because of people, no longer feel tangled because of life. This is not random, nor a sign of losing spirit. It is that you have passed an important stage where karma begins to settle and blessings begin to blossom. There is no bell to announce it, only an inner world that grows quieter and clearer, steady enough to see what to keep and what to release. Cherish these signs, for they are not a momentary peace, but a new phase of mind where you live by awareness rather than by old habits. Step by step, your life will grow lighter, not because suffering has ended, but because you no longer suffer in the same way over the same things. That is blessing, and that is freedom. Some people seem to have everything go smoothly, step outside and they meet good fortune. Whatever they do, there is help. Accidents draw near and then pass away. Hardship is about to descend and a benefactor appears. Outsiders call it luck, but those who understand the way know it is blessing. There are two great kinds of blessing in life: the blessing you create yourself and the blessing handed down by your ancestors. Many live virtuously, practice and serve others. They carve a peaceful path for themselves. Yet there are also those who, though not deeply practiced or disciplined, still enjoy a life that is fairly peaceful, not overly turbulent, even prosperous with smooth beginnings. This is when ancestral blessings are silently protecting them. Ancestral blessing is a current of wholesome energy transmitted through the bloodline from generation to generation. It does not take bodily form yet. It clearly influences the fate of descendants. A grandmother who chanted sutras every morning, a grandfather who saved lives in wartime, a father who quietly helped the needy. Such acts create an invisible momentum for those who come after. Not everyone is born with ancestral support, and those who have it are not guaranteed to keep it. Some enjoy it and then lose it. Others know how to preserve and continue it, and their lives grow more and more flourishing. What matters is recognizing when ancestral blessing is about to pour in and living in a way worthy of it. This piece will point out 7 clear signs. If you have some of them, it is very likely that your ancestors' virtue is drawing near and your path of fortune, prosperity and good luck is about to open. More important than wealth, however, is the chance to practice, to live rightly, and to continue the light of those who came before. Sign 1. What once seemed hopelessly blocked is gently untangled. There are times when everything appears to hit bottom: work stagnates, money dries up, relationships are a mess, illness surrounds you. It feels as if there is no way out, as if fate is pushing you to the limit. Yet right then something changes. An opportunity appears as if from the sky. A timely call brings good news or sound advice. A door opens ahead when all others have shut. The shift is not noisy, but unmistakable, like water beginning to flow again after a long blockage, like a faint light at the end of a tunnel. This is not a miracle nor mere coincidence. It is ancestral blessing beginning to make the meritorious deeds of the past bloom. Prayers once spoken by parents or grandparents, perhaps years ago, even generations ago, are now returning their response in your present life. Blessing does not usually arrive as a sudden windfall. It comes softly, quietly. When it comes, the first thing you feel is the easing of knots, even though you are not doing anything dramatically different. Someone who was stuck for years in their career suddenly reconnects with an old friend and finds a new job steady and gentle. Someone who struggled long with illness meets a physician whose care fits them and recovery begins. Someone whose love, life and home were in turmoil finds that after a time of returning to chanting and mindfulness, the household grows peaceful again. Understand that blessing does not necessarily take immediate material form. It is not a lottery win that changes everything overnight. It is the untangling, the opening, the breath of fresh air in a stifling room. As blockages loosen, the mind grows light, and in that lightness, you begin to see direction clearly. This sign is also a reminder: do not rejoice and slacken your practice, and do not become conceited. What you are receiving may not come entirely from you, but from someone in your lineage who lived virtuously, prayed for their descendants, and sowed seeds of merit in the world. If you sense things turning gently for the better, even though you have done nothing drastic, pause and quietly offer thanks. Perhaps someone in the unseen realm is smiling for the blessings they once sowed, have reached the season to bloom in your life. Sign 2. A stranger helps you at the right time and in the right way. Not everyone who helps you is someone you know, and not every stranger is indifferent. In life's hardest, most stuck moments, it may be the person who is not close to you. Indeed, someone you have never met who steps in. They owe you nothing and seek no repayment. They arrive at the right time as a hidden link in the chain of cause and effect at work. When someone helps you without self-interest, without calculation, without expectation of return, and their help arrives exactly when you need it most, this is not merely luck. It is ancestral blessing, operating through present conditions, sending the right person to carry you through the rough stretch. In Buddhism, there is a saying, conditions are like illusions, and karmic results are like a shadow. Conditions may look random, but in truth, they arise from wholesome karma, either your own or that planted by your kin long ago. Ancestral blessing does not appear as a deity nor flicker as some mystical aura. It may hide within a living person who for no reason is ready to help. Notice, have you met someone who guided you past a dangerous bend, who showed you the right path when you were lost in choices, who unexpectedly opened a new opportunity without asking for anything? That person might be a former colleague, a new acquaintance, or a passerby who brushed your life. The deeper question is, why did you meet them? Why did they appear right when you needed them? Why not appear for someone else? It may be because you are receiving a portion of ancestral blessing. Those who once helped others unconditionally have sown the seeds for you to meet outstretched hands offered without condition. Blessing does not always bloom where it was planted. Sometimes it flowers in later generations when conditions ripen. If you feel fortunate to have been helped, that is also the moment to continue that goodness. Preserve blessing by not leaning on it. Nurture blessing by becoming the one who helps others at the right time and place, just as someone once helped you. That is how ancestral blessing does not stop with you, but flows on to your children and grandchildren. Sign 3. Your temperament changes and becomes gentler and more tolerant for no clear reason. Some changes do not begin in external circumstances but arise from within. One day you suddenly realize you are no longer quick-tempered as before, no longer react sharply to others, no longer enjoy competing, arguing, or grabbing for anything. Everything seems lighter in your heart. You find it easier to forgive, to let go, and to feel compassion, and you yourself do not quite know why. If this transformation does not come from deliberate practice, it is very likely a sign that blessing is beginning to blossom, especially ancestral blessing quietly guiding you from within. Blessing is not only wealth, material things, or outward success. The greatest blessing is inner tranquility, the natural arising of goodness. No reminders or force are needed. When the mind grows gentle and the heart softens, that is not weakness. It is a sign that a new inner strength has awakened the power of merit blooming from within your own bloodline. Many think personality is hard to change, yet when great blessing begins to speak, it needs no argument and no admonition. It transforms silently. You no longer find joy in speaking ill of others, nor relish laughing at their pain. Your heart tightens with empathy when you witness someone's suffering. You are no longer eager to debate what you once felt you had to win. That is when your mind is being watered by the stream of blessing. Often this change does not happen by chance. Someone in your lineage generations ago practiced, prayed, recited mantras and sutras, and dedicated their merit to later descendants. They are no longer living, but the good they did is not lost. It remains in the bloodstream and in the spiritual essence of those who come after. If you are the one who awakens, you may be the child or grandchild, chosen to continue that virtue so that you not only receive it, but also spread and enlarge it for the entire family line. This turning of temperament is a clear sign that harmful karma is thinning and blessing is budding. When you no longer wish to hurt anyone, when your heart softens before everything, when you stop craving to contend and seize, that is when ancestral blessing is lifting you from within your own mind. Sign 4. Dreaming of grandparents, or receiving a strange dream before life changes course. In this visible world, There are things reason cannot explain. Unusual dreams, images appearing in the night, vague calls as if echoing from afar. Sometimes more than a dream, it may be a message from deeper spiritual levels, where ancestors still watch each step of their descendants. Many people report that before a major life change, such as changing jobs, moving home, marrying, or escaping misfortune, they dreamt of deceased relatives. Some dreamt of grandparents or parents returning to give counsel. Some dreamt of light of a person in grey robes of temples, bells, and the wooden fish. Some dreamt of being lost and then led to the path. Upon waking, they did not know why, yet felt lighter, as if something had opened within. Such dreams should not be taken lightly. They are the first sign of a connection between present consciousness and the stream of inherited blessing. When ancestral blessing is large enough and strong enough, it can open an intermediate door to send signals to descendants. This is not to frighten or to perform miracles, but to remind, warn, support, and awaken. Scriptures speak of Brahma gods or devas who protect practitioners. In Vietnamese Buddhist folk belief, the gentle practice spirits of ancestors can become a quiet protective force for later generations. They do not appear every day or intervene bluntly. At turning points, they may send a dream or plant an idea into deep sleep. If you have experienced this dreaming of departed loved ones teaching, advising, or simply standing and smiling at you, understand that this is when ancestral blessing begins to transmit strength to you. Listen to the dream and do not dismiss small details. Reflect on your mind and examine what in your life is inviting change. If that dream appears right before positive shifts, such as work flowing smoothly, family settling, and fortune opening, know that you are not walking alone. Perhaps in the unseen realm, your ancestors stand behind you with palms joined, supporting you as they once prayed before the Buddha's altar. May the descendants live kindly and virtuously, be loved by others, and be welcomed by life. Ancestral blessing may arrive through words, actions, and opportunities, and sometimes through a light dream in a fleeting moment of the night. If you are alert enough to recognize it, you will know your life is about to turn a new page. In the hardest phases of life, people often respond with complaint, anger, or despair. When losing a job, money, a loved one, or being betrayed, most blame heaven, others, or fate. Yet some, even in difficult circumstances, do not blame anyone, do not resent, do not get angry, and do not think ill of others. They simply stay silent, endure, and keep living. That is a major shift of heart, and in many cases, it is also a sign that ancestral blessing is quietly sheltering you, making your mind unusually steady and unmoved even when life is harsh. When your mind no longer reacts violently to adversity, when there is no more impulsiveness, no urge to retaliate, no sitting to complain about fate, and you simply tell yourself, there must be a reason. Hold on a little longer, that is when blessing has begun to manifest in the mind. It does not wait until money and fortune arrive to be called a blessing. Blessing is not only external wealth, it is also the inner capacity to pass through storms without losing yourself. When ancestors practiced, held to the path, and prayed with all sincerity that merit can congeal into a field of peace that protects descendants from collapsing in adversity. Calm when suffering arrives is not indifference. It is the understanding that this is karma being repaid and fruit ripening. If it cannot be avoided, pass through it gently. Those who have such a mind have most likely been watered by a stream of past virtue. When the mind is at peace, the road ahead grows brighter, good conditions draw near, and opportunities begin to open at the right time and in the right place. Many do not recognize this and think they are merely toughened or accustomed to hardship. If you are in suffering and no longer feel anger, you should smile because karma is thinning and blessing is budding. That is a very clear sign that your mind has laid enough groundwork to receive better things. If your life is not smooth yet, your heart is no longer in turmoil, do not think you are weak. Trust that you are being protected not by swords or miracles, but by the steadiness within your mind, which is more precious than any wealth. Sign 6. Small streams of fortune begin to arrive gently and steadily. Not every kind of wealth comes in a single day. Some blessings do not pour down like a great waterfall. They fall like a fine mist, gentle, quiet, and regular, yet enough for a mindful person to recognize that the tide is turning and blessings are returning. Someone unexpectedly gives you a gift. A loan is offered without interest. Money appears from surprising places. An old debt you thought was lost is repaid. A small and unexpected bonus arrives. A minor contract brings in income that was not in your plan. None of it is huge, not enough to change your life overnight, but small and consistent, modest, yet timely. All of this suggests that resources are beginning to flow toward you from the smallest streams. This sign matters because it often comes before larger good things appear. This is how ancestral blessing typically blossoms from the inside out and from small to large, so that descendants are not overwhelmed, do not grow arrogant, and do not squander. The prosperity that comes from ancestral blessing is rarely noisy or dazzling, but it is firm and enduring, and it does not drag heavy karma with it, provided the recipient knows how to preserve it correctly. Pay careful attention. If you notice, you no longer fall into a state of being completely broke, and there is always a small cushion to make ends meet. If what you need seems to arrive in time without long periods of shortage, if you begin to accumulate a little and it no longer drains away, that is a sign that the wellspring of blessed wealth is opening again after a period of blockage. This often occurs to those whose ancestors practiced material generosity, who gave alms, made offerings, fed the poor, funded temples, provided disaster relief, and helped people in hardship. Such deeds create a wholesome financial energy transmitted to descendants. When that blessing ripens, it does not fall like a thunderstorm. It is like the early spring sun, warming little by little. If you are noticing this in your life, cherish it. Do not spend recklessly. Do not immediately crave large windfalls, because greed makes blessing dissipate quickly. Live by right principles, spend lawfully, and share in the right ways, and that stream of fortune will become more stable. When you live rightly, keep a kind heart, and refuse to chase money at any cost, what you receive is not only money, it is peace of mind, freedom from fear, and freedom from contention. That is the truest blessing. There are times when, without anyone inviting or urging you, you feel a spontaneous impulse to do good. You suddenly want to recite the Buddha's name. You naturally feel like bowing to the Buddha each morning, opening a sutra to read, going to the temple, repenting and dedicating merit. Your attention turns less outward and begins to turn inward, gently, naturally, without forcing. This is one of the clearest signs that harmful karma is thinning and blessings are blooming, especially blessings from ancestors who practiced, performed good deeds, and vowed to protect their descendants so they might meet the Dharma and return to their true selves. The sudden wish to practice is not random. In this life, simply giving rise to faith in the three jewels is already difficult. To sustain that mind over time without discouragement and without quitting requires deep, wholesome roots and great blessed conditions. If you once lived far from the Dharma chasing fame and gossip, and now you find you can sit quietly to complete a period of chanting, or calmly recite a few lines of the Buddha's holy name that is not ordinary, it is a sign that karma is turning. The heart and blessings are unfolding. Ancestral blessing is not only food, clothing, and money. Greater still is the opening of the inner life. Perhaps someone in your family line once vowed that later descendants would meet the light of the Buddha's teaching, abandon harm for good, and turn back toward virtue. When that vow has enough strength, it pours down upon a descendant who is able to feel it, and the turning back happens on its own. If you are in such a phase, suddenly wishing to live more decently, to go to the temple, to eat vegetarian meals, to release anger and envy, to study compassion, to understand that you are receiving the most precious part of the spiritual inheritance your ancestors left behind. No one can give you the inspiration to practice. Only blessing, when strong enough, makes your mind lighter, steadier, and naturally inclined to goodness. At such a time, you no longer search restlessly outside, but turn inward to train the mind, keep the precepts, and practice. No supervision is needed. No encouragement is needed. You still feel happy doing good deeds, and still feel peace when reciting the Buddha's name and chanting sutras. If you can maintain that mind, the great door of blessing will open not only for this life, but for future lives as well. Those who practice when blessings arrive will be able to keep them. Those who only enjoy and do not practice will see blessings slip away like water through their hands. These 7 signs are not a promise of a life of unbroken fair winds and following seas, nor are they strange omens meant to turn life into superstition. They are honest signals reminding you that you may be receiving ancestral blessing. What matters is not how much you receive, but whether you know how to preserve it. Ancestral blessing is like a gentle wind passing quietly through a human life. It is not as loud as a victory trumpet, nor as brilliant as festival fireworks. If you are quiet enough to feel it, you will sense an invisible support, lifting each step you take, each decision you make, each opportunity you grasp, and each time you think you will collapse, yet stand up again. Those who live kindly continue the blessing. Those who keep a wholesome heart make the blessing last. Those who practice transform blessing into the power that opens wisdom, compassion, and a long path for future generations. If you only indulge in enjoyment without cultivation, if you rejoice at receiving without gratitude, if you desire wealth without practice, that blessing will vanish quickly like morning dew under harsh sunlight, or like spring buds that fall before they bear fruit. If you are noticing gentle but positive shifts in your life, a softer heart, smoother events, small steady streams of fortune, and a spontaneous wish to practice, do not take them lightly. Join your palms and quietly thank your ancestors. Offer a stick of incense, complete a few periods of chanting, recite a Buddha's name, and live an honest life. That is how you express gratitude, preserve blessing, and open the way for new blessings to blossom long. Ancestral blessing is real, but keeping it depends on your own mind and conduct. Today you are listening to the Dharma Talk, 6 quiet signs that you have passed through karma and blessings are knocking. They are not merely fortunate, they are enjoying blessings accumulated over many lifetimes. Such blessing does not arise out of nowhere and cannot be bought with money. It is the sweet fruit of wholesome seeds that ancestors quietly planted across many incarnations. If your family shows the following signs, congratulations. This is not only your present good fortune, but also the beautiful remainder of wholesome karma built up over many lifetimes. Sign 1. No matter how hard things get, the family remains stable without breaking apart or falling into chaos. In times of turmoil, disaster, or upheaval, there are families that still keep connection, affection, and forbearance. The husband does not abandon his wife and children. The wife does not complain about fate. The children, though poor, are polite and considerate. And now the descendants live under one roof, without cold wars, without resentment, with listening. Sign 2. There is at least one person in the household who lives selflessly for others. Doing good without seeking repayment is the root for blessing to continue to grow. In such a family, someone practices kindness quietly, without boasting, without keeping score, without waiting for reward, yet good fruit still arrives quietly. There is someone who, at the sight of suffering, looks for a way to help, someone who does not speak harshly or scheme to harm others, someone who recites the Buddha's name and chants sutras, cultivating virtue for the whole lineage. They are the one who extends the stream of blessing, the keeper of the spiritual flame of the household. Ancestors leave opportunities, but the living must preserve them. If there is such a person in your home, congratulations. They are the lamp that never goes out amid the storm of the times and the shifts of impermanence. Sign 3. The family often meets benefactors who appear at the right time in the right place and are the right people. At moments that seem hopeless, someone arrives to help, offering a word of advice, an opportunity, a path. This is not random. It is past wholesome karma ripening. Families with blessings from many lifetimes are supported by good people, not because they are lucky, but because they once helped others, saved lives, and planted seeds of compassion in past lives. The ancients said that those with blessing meet good people and those with wrongdoing meet adversaries. If you continually meet the right people, those who understand you and open ways for you, then ancestral blessing is still at work. Sign 4. Someone in the family has strong sensitivity and clear intuition, as if heaven is whispering to them. Not everyone has this. There are people who foresee events, who dream omens of good or ill, who say something, and a few days later, it happens just so. They are not divine and not superstitious. They are simply connecting with the ancestral current of energy. Listen to that person. Respect their intuition, for it is the quiet voice of those who went before. Do not take it lightly or dismiss the blessing at work. If you honor the family line, you can avoid bad karma and welcome favorable chances. Sign 5. The family's fortune does not spiral downward. Though there are times of hardship, they still rally and stand up again. You may see households that suffer major blows, yet do not collapse, that lose everything but rebuild within a few years. Such a family may be tested, but not crushed, because blessing from many lifetimes is thick and deep. Blessing may not prevent storms, but it always leaves a firm foundation to rise again. Sign 6. Someone in the family possesses wholesome roots, has faith in the Buddha's teaching, lives virtuously, and does not seek repayment. This is the strongest sign and the source of enduring blessing. Such a person does not compete or harbor anger. They incline toward goodness and dwell quietly in peace, harming no one and seeking no gratitude. They practice not only for themselves, but also quietly dedicate their merit to the family line.